Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Criterion after our short break. In this edition we look at two films directed by Ira Sachs, Peter Hujar's Day, a Criterion Premieres release, and his earlier film The Delta, both joining the collection on Blu-ray. Ira Sachs is an American filmmaker, and he started his career directing short films such as Vaudeville and Lady before making his feature film debut with The Delta in 1996. Sachs later won acclaim for his dramatic independent films 40 Shades of Blue, Keep the Lights On, Love is Strange, Little Men, and more recently in 2023, Passages. He made his directorial film debut with the LGBTQ coming-of-age drama The Delta in 1996. This film is about a young man exploring his bisexuality. Sachs spoke to his inspiration of the film at the time, saying, "I wrote the film in New York, where I was living, but I grew up in Memphis. It was inspired by my memories and my thoughts and my knowledge of the city." Now, the low-budget film was shot on 16mm and it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and later screened at the Toronto International Film Festival to positive reviews. It also won the Outstanding Emerging Talent Award at the Outfest in 1997 and was also nominated for the Producers Award for the producer Margot Bridger at the 1997 and the 1998 Independent Spirit Awards. The film stars Shane Gray as a bisexual Lincoln Bloom, who after leading a relatively straight teenage life is slowly drawn into the LGBT world and discovers his attraction towards men. After visiting various shady establishments, including gay bars, video arcades, and engaging in sexual acts with men he didn't know, Lincoln meets Minh Nguyen, a Vietnamese immigrant, and travels downriver with him in a cabin cruiser. In a doomed relationship, the two bond with each other, and Lincoln neglects to tell his girlfriend, and that leads to parallel lives. Director Ira Sachs clearly has a lot to say here, and he seems hell-bent on getting it all into the 85-minute running time. Sexual orientation crisis, class and racial divisions, cultural aftershocks of the Vietnam War, dysfunctional families and teen sociology in the New South are all dealt with willy-nilly in a great-looking but rather unsatisfying movie that's more a display of raw filmmaking tools than a coherent artistic statement. In the centre of Sachs' ambitious model is Lincoln Bloom, Gray, a well-off Memphis teen with major sexual identity issues. In an early scene, we see him leave the family dinner table, and the object of his onanistic fixation could either be blonde princess girlfriend Rachel or the Vietnamese gay hustler, with whom he did the nasty the night before. Lincoln's remote manner towards Rachel is egregious even within a wasted social circle, whose members spend most of their time getting stoned and making a circuit of parties and clubs, each more dismal than the one previous. But when Lincoln re-encounters the young immigrant hustler, a half-black American serviceman's offspring named Minh, he's caught off guard by the older boy's vitality and flamboyantly romantic manner. Impulsively, the guys take off down the river on a boat owned by Lincoln's dad. Their brief Huck and Jim getaway is a tender interlude that, because of their disparate cultural perspectives and emotional makeups, has far deeper significance to Minh than it does to Lincoln. For the callow, soulless Lincoln, it's just a temporary diversion from his irresolute drift back to a safer, more conventional lifestyle. But for Minh, the brush-off by Lincoln is a shattering experience, the harshest in a long series of rejections, which leads to a shocking conclusion that delivers the movie's one big emotional punch. The actors Gray and Chan, like the other cast members, are raw neophytes, recruited by Sachs for look and style and not acting polish. It's a nervy approach that, along with Sachs' phoristic dialogue, creates a predictably ragged acting workshop feel, with the inevitable mix of spontaneous combustion and wheel-spinning tedium. Now, there's a marginally acceptable amount of the latter in the film, but far more problematic is the growing cargo of symbolic import that Sachs wants to impose upon Min and Lincoln's fleeting encounter. And on a more basic level, I just found it so hard to penetrate the two main characters' cauterized psyches that in the end I hardly gave a damn what actually happened to them. And unfortunately, for all the obvious latent talent here, Sachs seems to have run afoul of a basic creative pitfall. That's the tendency of art that takes aimlessness and sterility as its dominant subjects to register as both. Sachs here allows his actors to develop situations and dialogue through improvisation, giving the film a meandering, naturalistic feel. When plot does assert itself in the abrupt closing scenes, the effect is truly disconcerting. Now, the film's cast consists of Shane Gray as Lincoln Bloom, Thang Chan as Min Nguyen, that's John, Rachel Van Hoos as Monica Rachel, Colonius Davis as Ricky Little, and Charles J. Ingram as David Bloom. The film comes to the collection as a Blu-ray only with the following special features. We have a 2K digital restoration of the film, supervised and approved by the director Ira Sachs, with uncompressed mono soundtrack. An audio commentary from 2001 featuring Sachs, new interview with Sachs, and conducted by film critic Keith Ulick. Two short films by Sachs, I've already mentioned them, Vaudeville from 1991 and Lady from 1993. We have an essay by author and film curator Michael Koreski, and the cover art for the disc is designed by Juan Miguel Marin. The Delta tells what at first appears to be a simple love story. Two young men, Lincoln, Shane Gray, a closeted white teenager, and Min, Thang Chan, a black Vietnamese immigrant, meeting at a cruising spot and embarking on a nighttime journey by boat down the Mississippi River. But soon, imbalances of power and privilege emerge between them as the film develops into a devastating vision of lost, wounded souls reaching out in the dark for human connection. Now, the film has a running time of 84 minutes. It's an aspect ratio of 1:66:1, and it releases on Tuesday, the 12th of May, so it's already released in the collection as Spine 1309. Now we look at the last Ira Sachs film, that's Peter Hujar's Day, starring Ben Whishaw as photographer Peter Hujar and Rebecca Hall as writer Linda Rosenkrantz. Now, this film had its world premiere in the 2025 Sundance Film Festival on January the 27th. It was theatrically released in the US on November the 7th by Janus Films. Rosenkrantz produced a book in 2021 of the same name, which documents Hujar's life and activities over a 24-hour period in 1974. Sachs was initially unsure if the project would be a short film or a feature, but was convinced to produce a feature-length film in response to Wishaw's passion and insight into the language. Filming was scheduled for New York in November of 2023. Now, some background. Peter Hujar was an American photographer known for his striking, intimate, humane portraits of artists, writers, performers, and New York's queer downtown scene from the 1960s to the early 1980s. Though an underground talent in his lifetime, he is now regarded as one of the most influential portraitists of the late 20th century, photographing, among others, John Waters, Susan Sontag, Fran Lebowitz, Candy Darling, William S. Burroughs, and David Wojnarowicz, whose later work, of course, is inexorable from Hujar's influence. Now, when he died of AIDS-related complications in 1987 at the age of 53, Wojnarowicz photographed him on his deathbed, creating images that became emblematic of the AIDS crisis at the time. Adapted from a rediscovered 1974 transcript, the film takes place over a single winter's day in New York, when the writer Linda Rosenkrantz invited her friend Hujar, then a little-known photographer, to recount in microscopic detail what he'd done the day before. Alex Ash's camera simply hangs out with them. Rosenkrantz is played with softly spoken sharp wit by Rebecca Hall, and Hujar with irresistible volatility by Ben Whishaw, as they talk, smoke, gossip, gripe, and occasionally dance their way through the afternoon light of her Upper East Side apartment. Now, nothing much happens, yet everything is revealed. Hujar riffs on art, sex, freelancing debts, the peculiarities of his sleep habits, and memorably the disastrous New York Times shoot with Allen Ginsberg that became an odyssey bookended by Ginsberg's suggestion that Hujar perform oral sex on Burroughs. Now, Wishaw's performance here is a theatrical masterclass in controlled ramble. Hall's is the art of listening, with responses that range from concern to a slightly cocked head, and their chemistry enlivens the most throwaway anecdote. Come into their parlour. Ben Whishaw is Hujar, dutifully detailing his previous day to a prodding, intimate Rosencrantz, played by Rebecca Hall. Theirs are the only faces you see in the film and the only voices you hear for its whole 75-minute brisk runtime. The two fall into delightfully familiar chemistry here. Linda a little protective, Peter a tad vulnerable, but certainly committed, and every detail from sleeping through his alarm and being awakened by a phone call, through all the phone calls, naps, liverwurst sandwiches, right up to being awakened in the middle of the night by the prostitutes talking business under the window, is recounted. Now, faithful to the tone of Rosencrantz's body of work, Ira Sachs spotlights the fiction, structuring the non-fiction here, blurring lines while drawing attention to them. The banality of the exercise, forcing him to remember every forgettable detail of the day, strips the conversation of ego or pretension, unveiling introspection and struggle beneath. Whishaw is exceptional in the role. The rote and self-consciousness at the beginning of the conversation, evolving into self-effacing humour and eventually raw bursts of personal reflection, peppered by lilting melancholy. Rebecca Hall is a gift in this role, the personification of the absolute joy in simply giving your attention, listening and being with a person. Set design and cinematography befit not just the time period, but the portraiture Hujar is known for. Sachs captures kinship and camaraderie among the artists. Sachs directed Whishaw in Passages in 2023, and he shares the actor's dedication to the queer avant-garde. No video of Hujar survives, and the only audio is a self-hypnosis session in which he tries to quit smoking. The film's Rosencrantz tersely queries Hujar to keep him talking, but there's really no need here. He's a born conversationalist, and chain-smoking and name-dropping in equal measure, and he could talk the fat of a chicken bone. Peter Hujar's day should make the viewer more curious about his subject's life, or his speed of life, as the Morgan Library called a 2018 retrospective of his nearly 6,000 contact sheets, all in black and white exposure. The film comes through the Criterion Collection as a Criterion Premieres release, which of course means it's fairly bare bones as regards features, having only the usual small fold-out pamphlet and a Meet the Directors feature with Ira Sachs and a trailer for the movie itself. Emerging in Peter Hujar's day is what amounts to be a touching celebration of creativity, connection and simply being present, made exceptionally vivid by Sachs' cinematic flourishes and wonderfully tender performances given from Whishaw and Hall, whose chemistry gives the film its heart and its soul. Now, its releases on Tuesday the 12th of May, so it's already come out, and is in the Criterion Collection, available now on Blu-ray in the US, and it's due to release in the UK on Monday the 25th of May. A fellow YouTuber, Movies with James, has recently contacted me, and we did a podcast where we'll be chatting about physical media. He has a channel called Shelf Media Society, where our chat will be available to view soon. There are links to that channel already in the description. Next time on Let's Talk Criterion, we'll be looking at a disturbingly prescient eco-feminist parable and a brain-wave scrambling cyberpunk fantasia. What could it be? It's the debut feature from new media pioneer Xu Li Xiang, Fresh Kill, from 1994, coming to the collection on Blu-ray. So until then, from me, as always, it's goodbye, and above all, good Criterion viewing.